Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from MaliciousCompliance. Story 1 is by Classical Ad 6001. Haven't done the dishes in weeks. I'm not sure if this falls under malicious compliance or petty revenge or a combination of both, to be honest. But anyway, I'm a college student with roommates who love to use my stuff even though we had a roommate agreement and I basically said ask first if you'd like to use my stuff. That lasted a week because apparently they think if I let them use my stuff once, it gives them permission to do it all the time. I noticed one roommate in particular had taken a liking to my frying pan and mugs. Specifically, these are 4 identical glass mugs. One day I was doing the dishes and was in a rush to get somewhere and noticed that there were 2 of my mugs in the sink. I went to the girl and asked something along the lines of, if you're going to use my mugs, please clean them. Then she said, okay. I left both in the sink after doing the dishes I used. I come back after a weekend at home to find those 2 mugs still in there with coffee from 3 days earlier marinating in there, and another one of my cups in there. I talked to her multiple other times in the following weeks about how if she plans to use my stuff, she shall clean it. Once I realized the stuff was not being cleaned, I decided, well, if people don't want to clean my stuff that they use, why on earth should I clean my stuff that I use? So I stopped doing my dishes. Funny enough, 3 days later, the girls nagged me about doing the dishes, so I said, then do yours. And she said that there were none of her things in the sink. I responded with the fact that all 4 of the mugs she used are in there and my pan. She said, those are your dishes. Her logic is basically if she doesn't own it, she can use it without cleaning it. So I started not only leaving my dishes in the sink, but using hers. Anyway, I haven't done the dishes in 3 weeks. If it bothers her so much, she would clean her stuff that I use, but apparently according to her, I have to clean them because I used it. Hypocrites are so funny to mess with. You guys aren't going to be roommates for long. There's no way this roommate situation is going to work out. And more power to you guys if you split it off early, because you're already fighting over dishes. That's bad. Yes, she is in the wrong for using your dishes and then leaving them in there for you to clean. But having fights over who uses the dishes that are there is kind of absurd. This is an unhealthy roommate relationship. Our next story is by Cryptographer Medical. I know you. Many years ago, worked full-time at a big superstore on checkout. I also volunteered in a local civil protection light rescue unit. We did some training with fire services, exercises with the Red Cross, etc. I dated a female police officer for a bit. So I knew a few of the local police officers, a fair few of the local fire service, ambulance, etc. One of the rules was no serving friends and family. If they came to the till, press buzzer and wait for manager. One manager and I never got on. I served one local officer I knew, Paul. Manager straight on my back about serving friends. I explained, no, not good enough. Got a severe telling off from that manager. Even demanded to know if I knew a regular customer just because I said, hi Sandra, hi Laura, and they greeted me by name. Got telling off for that. So I deliberately asked, anyone I know, I buzz for manager. I then had a couple days off, including training night. So I discreetly told a few rescue unit members that when they came in to ignore what I told them before. I wanted them to deliberately come through my checkout. I messaged a mate at a local fire station, messaged the ex-police officer to pass word, and passed the message to someone I knew at a local Red Cross, etc. Next 2 evenings, Thursday and Friday, which are always busy, it was carnage. Buzz, this is Heather, local police officer I know through rescue unit. Buzz, this is Alan, local Red Cross, I know him through unit. Buzz, this is Sally, local paramedic. Buzz, this is Dee, County Council Emergency Planning, know him through rescue unit. Buzz, this is Glenn, firefighter from ABC Station, know him through rescue unit. Buzz, this is Frank, paramedic through rescue unit. Buzz, this is Tony, firefighter from XYZ Station, know him through rescue unit. Buzz, this is Ben, local police officer, know him through rescue unit. Buzz, this is Julie from rescue unit. Buzz, this is Alan, a local police inspector I know through rescue unit. I got pulled aside by a manager who I got on with on Friday about 8 p.m. on my way to break and was told, "You can stop buzzing for people you know from rescue unit stuff. Just buzz for any family or close friends. We'll let you use your discretion." I really hope that manager that you got along well with at the end there is somebody who outranks the other manager that you don't get along well with. Sounds to me, based on what I read, that you have two managers, one that you don't get along well with, one you do. And the poor unfortunate one that you get along well with told you to use your discretion, and I severely hope they outrank that other one. Otherwise, you're in for a wild ride next time you try to pull that off. Our next story is by Stardust Rose 9449. You want to review every single candidate? You got it, babe. This is the best time that my warnings went unheeded and made the client regret ever asking. I worked in recruitment for 9 years, and a few years back I had a new client, hiring manager, and she didn't like abiding by the rules set up for the recruitment team. For one thing, we review the applicants, interviewed the best qualified candidates, and then submitted them to the hiring manager for consideration. Well, this hiring manager couldn't understand why we only sent over 3 candidates in a week. Honestly, she's lucky as some positions didn't garner that many applicants. I explained that we submit 3 candidates for every 1 position available. This ensures that the hiring manager's time was considered when scheduling next step interviews. This wasn't just a standard I set, it was approved by her company's TA bosses, and frankly was a standard at another place I used to work as well. Hiring manager: "That is absurd. I want to review all the candidates so I can tell you whom to pre-screen, and then you schedule their interview with me based on my availability." Me: "But, ma'am, you have almost 100 applicants that met your minimum qualifications. I don't think you really want to devote that much time to reviewing all of these resumes, and honestly, some of them were not great." Hiring manager: "Are you not listening? Send them all over to me and I'll take care of it." Me: "Yes, ma'am. You got it. I'll send those over right away." I wrote an email to the hiring manager immediately after the call, restating the topics discussed by phone, and asked again if she was certain she wanted all of the candidates sent to her. She confirmed. I complied and forwarded to my boss with an explanation that she will take care of reviewing all applicants and my numbers were going to be skewed for the month. I did as requested, selecting nearly 100 candidates in the system and moved them to hiring manager review. Now, what this did was send individual emails for each candidate as an update to the hiring manager, and it would ping her email every 3 days they weren't reviewed. I smirked, knowing what was about to happen and my rear was going to get chewed out in about a week, but it felt really good because I knew I was right. 2 days later, my boss calls again and says he got an irritated phone call from his hiring manager who said she never requested this, to which they responded with the information detailed in my email. She was speechless. He let her know that I would go back into the system and back up the candidate process, so it would be taken out of her to-do list, and I would continue to send over candidates that were the best fit for the role described in our processes. I never received pushback from that hiring manager ever again. It's so simple but glorious. Well done, OP. And the best part, if you're ever going to do malicious compliance, do exactly as this person did right here. Email the person making the absurd request, get confirmation in email of what they want you to do, then write to your boss if you have an actual boss and say, "They want me to do this? I'm going to do it. Is that fine?" And they say yes. You have it in writing. Your butt is covered. I bet she regrets trying to say, "I never asked for this," and they literally have an email from him confirming that that's exactly what you want. Our last story today is by Correct West 2427. You want me to stay in my station? Okay. I worked as the lead cook in a very busy restaurant, 50 to 75,000 weekly. My boss would write who's working what station, and generally we follow this. My station is the dead center of the line, so the expo and anyone asking for anything looked to my station for everything. They don't ask the respective station for what they're looking for, they come to me. I've been noticing everybody else gets to switch their stations and rotate daily. I usually don't mind or care, but after 9 months it got a little tiring. Someone asked me if he could train in my station, and I showed him the ropes because he became darn near as good as me in it, so I let him take the ropes on a Saturday night, and he did just fine. Fry's side wasn't doing too hot, and I went over to help them. In the process, my boss came over and freaked out to see one of the new guys on my station. He didn't look happy about it. He called me for a meeting the next day, saying that we have to all stay in our station, and that's final. Mind you, this new guy on my station was one of the prep guys and was just filling on the line for a week while someone's on vacation. Fast forward to service and the protein side's going down hard with the Fry side. New guy peers the corner from prep to see everyone in the weeds, and I have no tickets on my printer. I look at my boss, then look at him and tell him he has to stay in the prep line. We must stay in our stations. Whole line fell. And it was glorious to tell my boss to stay in his office and he knows nothing about the kitchen or how to run a line. He went to reply and I shut him up quickly with, "Your station is in the office. Effing stay in your lane." People were wondering where this place is that gets this much business, and they said it's a place called Bonefish Max in Port St. Lucie. I'm not sure where that is. I'm going to have to look it up when I'm done this. How did you manage to get away with telling your boss off like this? And not get fired. And you're still working there after telling them your lane is in the office, get back in the effing office? There's no way they kept you on staff. No way. But hey, you're really not wrong for saying that to them. You could have said it in a more polite way, but stay in your lane, boss. You don't know what's going on out here. We're going to manage it. We're going to make it work. You go back to your office and just stay there. Him saying that you can't float between stations or have somebody cover your station briefly, you put the pros where the pros should go. And if they can help other people, if they have downtime and they want to help others, why not? Our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, feel free to not stay at your station and not stay in your lane.